in our midst. For 28 years, Jesuit Communications has been promoting the Catholic faith and serving the nation through both traditional and new media. Hear us tackle national issues in light of Christian values on Usapang Kapatid, Pasakalye, and Radyo Veritas. Watch our uplifting reflections on Kapet Pandasal and The Word Exposed, as well as our acclaimed TV specials. Listen to the inspiring and soothing music of Jesuit Music Ministry's original artists as you read our spiritually enriching books. To learn more about JustCom's mission of evangelization and education, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and our website, justcom.ph. To give a face to the faceless and a voice to the voiceless, that we may recognize Christ in them and hear His story in theirs.
Susunod na ang Tatakalikasan sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Radyo Katipunan.
Tara na't simulan ng inyong umaga sa mga magagandang refleksyon tungkol sa ating buhay at pananampalataya. Kasama sina Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, Father J. Boy Gonzales at Father Nono Alfonso ng Kapisanan ni Jesus, Father Cali Llamado ng Manila Cathedral at Binibining Risa Singson Kaupeng ng Light of Jesus Community dito sa Kapet Pandasal sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Paano malalaman kung tunay ang pag-ibig? Ito po si Father Cali ng Manila Cathedral. Halina po at magkapet pandasal. Sa darating na linggo ay ipagdiriwang natin ang Solemnity of the Most Holy Trinity, ang iisang Diyos sa tatlong persona ng Ama, Anak at Espiritu Santo. Makikita natin dito sa buhay ng Diyos na ang Diyos nga ay pag-ibig. Mahal ng Ama ang Anak at gayon din naman mahal ng Anak ang Ama at ang kanilang pag-ibig ay ibinahagi sa atin sa Espiritu Santo. Kaya nga sinasabi natin na God is love. Ang Diyos ay pag-ibig. Kaya nga ang karanasan ng pagmamahal ay isang karanasan kung saan matatagpuan mo ang Diyos. Kapag hindi mo dyan natagpuan ang Diyos, baka hindi yan tunay na pagmamahal. Kapag inilalayo ka niyan sa Diyos, baka hindi yan tunay na pag-ibig. Kapag tinuturuan kang sumalungat sa Diyos, baka pekeng pag-ibig yan. Tandaan, kapag naramdaman mo dyan ng Diyos, ibig sabihin, tunay ang pag-ibig. Panginoon, matagpuan ko sana ang tunay na pag-ibig. Amen.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan, Radyo, Katipunan, Radyo, Katipunan, Radyo, 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 Katipunan, Radyo, Radyo, Katipunan. Sa Blue Eagle kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay at tenista sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng kwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan, Radyo, 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 Katipunan, Radyo, Radyo, Katipunan, Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero, sugod, todo sa kayon, dunong at tulog, lipat na Blue Eagle, kaning giting nagigil, blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan, Radyo, 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 Katipunan, Radyo, Radyo, Katipunan, Radyo, Katipunan, Radyo, 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 Katipunan, Radyo, Katipunan.
Lamig, init, ulan, hangin, kumakalingang kalikasan. Ating alagaan at ingatan. Kumusta na ang ating kalikasan? Pag-usapan natin ang kalagayan ng mundo at kung paano tayo makatutulong sa pagkalinga sa ating tahanan. Kasama sina Father J.M. Manzano ng Kapisanan ni Jesus at si Dr. Rotor. Ito ang Tatakalikasan sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Magtaka, magmasid, mag-isip, may utak ang kalikasan. Katipunang tahanan, Tatakalikasan, Radyo, Tatak. Welcome po muli sa ating programang Tatakalikasan. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. At bago po tayo magsimula ay mag-alay po muna tayo ng panalangin mula sa sinulat ni San Francisco de Assis na awit ng Sanlinika. Sa ngalan ng Ama at ng Anak at ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Purihin ka, puon, kinaate buwan at mga bituin. Hinugi sa langit, malinaw, marikit, may hiyas na angkin. Purihin ka, puon, sa kay kuya hangin, sa simoy at ihip. Maulap, tahimik, anumang panahon na papalit-palit. Sa bigay mong buhay, sa mga nilikhay, silang tagahatid. Purihin ka poon sa kay ate tubig na mapag-alalay, mapagpakumbaba, napakahalaga't napakadalisay. Purihin ka poon sa kay kuya apoy, sa gabi lagablab, siya ay matikas, masiglat malakas, masilhi ang alab. Sa ngalan ng Ama at ng Anak at ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Magandang umaga po muli at welcome sa ating programang Tatakalikasan. Ako po ang inyong lingkod, Father J.M. Manzano ng Kapisanan ni Jesus. At ang aking kasama po sa programa,
ako naman si Kaabe Rotor. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, Dr. Abe Rotor. At binabati po kayo ng magandang umaga at sana magtagumpay tayo dito sa ating episode ng plastic pollution. Yung kasalukuyan na hinaharap lahat sa buong mundo, plastic pollution. At papasalamat tayo para
yes, oo.
Meron tayong panauhin si
Yes,
Dr.
okay.
Dayrit.
Ayan, siya yung
mabigyan tayo ng liwanag at malalim na pag-iintindi, pag-unawa sa kasalukuyang problema natin.
Ayan.
Plastic pollution.
Doc
Welcome,
Abe.
Dr. Dayrit.
Yeah, so Dr. Fabian Dayrit, Dr. Toby Dayrit, welcome po sa ating programa.
Magandang umaga sa lahat ng nakikinig. Magandang umaga, Father Manzano, at Dr. Rotor. Nagagalak akong makausap kayo tungkol dito sa napaka-importanting talakayan na ito.
Yan. Para ipakilala ko lang po sa ating audience, no, si Dr. Toby, no, siya po ay board of trustees member ng Ateneo de Manila University sa kasalukuyan. Siya din po ay academician ng National Academy of Science and Technology. Siya din po ang kasalukuyang presidente ng ICP o ang Integrated Chemists of the Philippines. Ang ICP o ito po ay isang accredited professional organization of all registered chemists. Yan po, si Dr. Toby ay registered chemist by profession. And ICP frequently organizes events such as seminars and conferences to further enrich the general public on timely and relevant matters concerning the chemistry profession. At karugtong po dito ay nagkaroon lang sila kamay-kailan lang po last May 8 ng isang webinar na ginanap po sa Ateneo de Manila University, RTA, na pinamagatang The Plastics Conundrum. the plastics conundrum. At ito po ang ating tampok sa episode na ito na iprinesenta ko ni Dr. Toby himself. So that was May 8. So webinar. So maraming salamat po Dr. Toby, at sigurado kami na marami na namang mga importanteng kaalaman. Ngayong Mayo pong ito para sa kwan ay naging usapin po yung plastics dito sa aming programa sa Tatakalikasan. And it continues this month of June. Dr. Toby, ito po, no, kasi sinabi po niyo doon sa webinar, no, yung the urgency. So what is this urgency all about?
Siguro baka of course lahat tayo naririnig natin itong problema ng plastic pollution, yung basura na nakikita, yung mga sachet, at saka yung mga plastic bag na madaling itapon na nakikita naman na nakakapatay ng mga hayop. At yung microplastic, kasi ang plastic ay organic substance. Kung nasisira ito, kung na-expose sa araw, saka sa yung mga friction, etc. Pati yung gulong. Kasi yung gulong, rubber, pero ang definition, gulong actually plastic yan. So tuwing sumasakay tayo ng kotse, kahit na bisikleta, ay na-generate ng microplastic. Tuwing nagsisiga tayo, kuminsan magkakaroon ng plastic yan na mapunta sa hangin. Kaya ang microplastic ngayon ay siguro sa atin parang bago yung microplastic. Pero parang bago siya kasi ngayon lang natin hinanap. Kaya lang sa totoo lang, mula nung unang gumawa tayo ng plastic, and this is beginning of the 20th century, 1900s, may microplastic na produce. Hindi lang natin hinahanap. Ngayon na hinahanap natin, nakakita natin na kahit saan katumingin, kahit sa loob ng katawan, may microplastic. Marami na ang publication din, kahit sa North Pole na akala natin napaka pristine, na malinis, ay may microplastic. So, yun ang katotohanan. Ngayon, siyempre, dahil ngayon lang natin narinig yun eh. Pero sa totoo lang, dati nang nandiyan yan, hindi lang natin hinahanap. Ngayon na alam natin kung paano hanapin, saka natin nakita na malaking problema pala ito. Pero yun ang microplastic na by size nakikita. Pero marami pang ibang problema ang plastic kasi ang lahat ng plastic ay merong mga additives, yung mga plasticizer. Yan hindi nakikita kasi kailangan ng chemical analysis na medyo mas may kahirapan gawin. So marami ring mga compounds na release sa tubig, sa hangin, na galing sa plastic. So, malaki talagang suliranin ang plastic. Pero ang ngayon, ang challenge sa atin yun, ano naman ang magagawa natin? So, andun tayo kasi ang paggamit ng plastic, laganap na eh. Halos wala kang mahahawakan sa bahay, sa kwarto mo na hindi plastic. Ang cellphone mo ay plastic. Actually, at mga kable, yung mga kable ng kuryente, kable ng internet, ang coating yan, plastic. So, yun ang challenge dun ay dependent natin sa plastic. Ngunit alam natin na may problema ang plastic. So, ano ngayon ang gagawin natin? So, meron namang magagawa, pero ang solusyon ay may kahabang panahon. So, siguro yun muna kasi mahaba.
Yan. Doc Toby, laganap na nga yung plastic at naririyan na matagal na At naging maliit lang siya parang lumiliit lang siya ng lumiliit, no? Hanggang sa maging microplastic na siya, no? Kasi nga napag-usapan namin ng mga nakaraang episodes na ang plastic, no, I think you as a chemist, no, would know better, no? Irreversible, no? The moment na ma-produce na ang mga plastics na ito ay they are already irreversible, kumbaga, no? They are not like the biodegradable components that we see around, that they are reverted back, they can be reversed, no, kumbaga, no? So that's why they just become smaller and smaller and into microplastics, pero plastic pa rin, di ba? Plastic pa rin. At ito ang panganib kasi they can enter into our bodies already and even in our bloodstream.
Tama yan, tama. Mapanganib talaga. Ang problema ngayon lang natin parang na-discover na yung problema ng microplastic. So, ang problema nga, nandiyan na yan, nasa dagat na, hindi naman natin may babalik. Hindi natin makokolekta lahat ng microplastic na nandyan. So, yun ang ating conundrum.
Yeah, yon. Speaking of conundrum, Doc Toby, no, paano ba natin ito may papaliwanag in layman's terms, no? Na it's a conundrum. Yung naisip ko dito ay it's a chicken and egg situation kasi the moment that we come up with a solution, there are corresponding problems again, new problems, parang ganyan, no? It's a dilemma, no? It's a catch-22, another way of putting it, no?
Oo, totoo yan. Pero yun yan, napakalaking problema. Parang palagay ko ang solusyon ay piece by piece natin siyang susolusyonan. Kasi hindi naman natin magagawa sa isang buong siguro konting history, no? Kasi maraming klaseng plastic. Ang plastic na, halimbawa, merong polyethylene na alam natin, narinig na natin yung polyethylene, PVC, may polystyrene. Ang mga ito, halimbawa ang PVC na-develop in 1920s pa. At lumaganap ang paggamit niyan nung nagkaroon ng mga kable. Kasi ito yung coating ng mga kable. So World War II, ang daming gumamit ng PVC. Actually, ang nylon hindi kasama dun sa yung triangle. Ang nylon, nagawa yan before the World War II. Pero nung gera, yan ang ginagamit nila sa parachute. Nylon yung mga parachute. At ngayon, ang dami sa mga sports, sportswear na mukhang maganda yung matingkad. Mga nylon ang marami dyan. So, dapat maintindihan natin ano yung mga klaseng plastic, ano yung kanilang mga application. Tapos tingnan natin, isa-isa, ano yung mapapalitan natin. Kasi mahirap sigurong palitan lahat Yun nga, maraming klaseng plastic.
Yeah.
So, pero kailangan niya ng maraming pagsusuri. Kasi, alam ba, nakasanayan mo na ito yung klaseng plastic na ginagamit sa maraming application. Alam ba, plastic bag. Although, yung merong yung single-use plastic na gustong i-phase out. Pero ang kahirapan dyan, marami sa ating mahirap na mamamayan gumagamit ng plastic bag. Yung mga sa tindahan, yung mga nagbebenta sa kariton, kung mag-order ka ng anumang pagkain o coconut water, ilalagay nila sa plastic yun. So, kailangan hanapan ng solusyon ng bawat application. So, yun ang sigurong magandang dyan, paraan ay i-identify ano ba yung pwedeng mapalitan at ang pagpapalit ay hindi overnight. May yung napas nga na batas, yung producer extended producer responsibility. Sinimulan nila yan sa mga single-use plastic packaging. So, maraming klaseng plastic. Unahin natin itong single-use plastic packaging. Tapos tingnan ano yung magagawa na solution dyan. Tapos punta tayo sa iba namang plastic na pwedeng pag-aralan yung yung pagpalit. Kasi mahirap sabihin lang na bawal kung maraming tao ay dependent din eh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, ayun.
Yeah.
Siyempre, ma-threaten yung kanilang livelihood, etc. So, ayun. Yun ang,
Yeah.
yun ang challenge.
Si Doc Abe, no? Kasi nagkaroon sila ng mga research tungkol sa biodegradable plastics.
Yes.
O yung nata de coco ba yun, Doc Abe?
Yeah, meron, there was a time na malaki ang demand ng nata de coco for export. So, mainly for Japan. Ginamit nila sa electronics nila. Ang nangyari yan, mas marami yung reject kaysa yung pumasa doon sa standard. So, may kaibigan ako, si Dr. Anselmo Cabigan. Sabi niya, ano kaya magawa natin dito sa reject na nata de coco? So, ginawa niyang laminate, parang leather, at dinala niya sa may kawayan. Yung processing ng leather, yan din ang sinunod. Then may mga estudyante who took up the research for their thesis, ginawang sapatos. Talaga sapatos. And ginamit sa loob ng campus ng St. Paul University sa Quezon City. As if yung laminate shoes, nata laminate shoes, if you would use it as if it is a plastic material or leather material, pinaghambing yung tatlo, leather, plastic, at saka yung laminate. Alam niyo, yung quality ng laminate, maganda. And so it gave an idea, pwede palang may mga substitute ng plastic. That is one area, Dr. Dayrit, na maaaring i-explore natin. And then yung anak ko, ewan ko lang bakit nagkaroon ng interest sa giant bamboo galing sa Mindanao. So he propagated giant bamboo at sabi niya, ito yung material na gagamitin natin instead of plastic. And I think it is a very good material as substitute for plastic. However, Dr. Dayrit, all of these substitutes will not solve the universal, the massive, and continuing build-up of plastic waste.
Yan. Kung kaya dito tayo papasok, yung katanungan na ibabato natin kay Dr. Toby, no? Kasi doon sa inyong presentation sa last May 8, no? There is this move to come together as a global community, no? To meet, no, next year 2024, and to come up with a legally binding agreement, in terms of facing plastic pollution. Kasi hindi na umuubra yung mga nasimulan katulad ng 3 Rs, no, yung reduce, reuse, recycle, no? So there is somewhat a kind of urgency na po, Dr. Toby, hindi po ba? No? So can you update us po tungkol ito sa UN move, UN trend, no, that they are pushing?
Siguro yung comment ko dun sa magandang mga kwento ni Dr. Rotor.
Yes.
Meron talagang mga success stories na with promising features. So ang mga diyan dapat those are parang bench scale successes yan eh.
Yeah.
So the next step is how do you scale it up? Kasi dun man ang susunod na step dun eh. At of course yung challenge yan ay yung cost. Parang kasi napakamura ng plastic. How parang how can we make yung mga plastics made from biomaterials more affordable. Kasi mas mahal lang ang raw materials ng biomaterials. But it's a good start, and then of course at the same time you have to, kasi marami sa plastic it's a petroleum product may mga hidden subsidies yung mga yan. So how do you parang favor the use of biomaterials over the use of petroleum-based products? And to do that, diyan din papasok yung support ng gobyerno. Ayun yung isang parang one of my comments din sa aking presentation. Talagang kailangan mong tignan yung yung role ng industry, yung role ng gobyerno, at saka yung role ng consumer. Lahat ng tatlo ay may responsibilidad para masolusyonan ang plastic itong plastic problem that we have. Ngayon dun sa point nung United Nations Environment Assembly, yung naganap sa Kenya, I think it was last year, tapos sinabi na dun sa director ng UNEP, United Nations Environmental Program, dapat maglabas nga ng internationally enforceable guidelines, treaty on plastic pollution. Sa akin, well, they're talking about plastic pollution, but I think when you talk about plastic, you don't just address pollution. You have to address it from the beginning. From the type of plastic that we're making. Kasi if we're making the same type of plastic, talagang mauuwi yan sa pollution. Kasi the plastics we have were not really designed to be recycled. These were first developed in the 1920s, 1940s, 1950s. Nung panahon na yon, hindi naman pinapag-isipan ng mga industriya na kailangan ma-recycle ito So sigla ang gawa nila. 1980s sinabi nila mag-recycle na. Pero sa totoo naman, hindi feasible i-recycle yung mga plastic nila. Kasi they were never designed to be recycled in the first place. So if we're gonna addressing plastic pollution is necessary, but we have to start at the beginning. Ano ba yung plastic materials raw materials na pwedeng gamiting paggawa ng plastic that and still come up with materials that are useful at saka recyclable, saka hindi harmful sa environment o sa tao. Ayun ang malaking challenge doon. So siguro to answer your question in a nutshell, you shouldn't just address plastic pollution. Plastic pollution is a problem, but it will remain a problem if we don't come up with new plastics. So yun ang challenge.
Yung sinabi niyo po, Doc Toby, it's going back into determining what kind of plastics these are. Kasi may mga plastics na pwede naman at may mga na pwedeng i-recycle or they are bio-based, So could you explain itong tinawag mo na circular plastics and bio-based plastics?
Actually, sarili kong yan, parang inaking suggestion, hindi ito hindi ito tinatanggap ng lahat. Kasi meron tayong, if we start with single-use plastics, I think inevitably there will be single-use plastic kasi meron namang mga plastic na talagang minsan mo lang gagamitin. Ano ba, yung gagamitin sa ospital, yung gloves, o yung face mask, talagang minsan ang gamit yan. Meron mga bibili tayo na talagang they should be designed for single use kasi you're not going to reuse them. Those types of plastics should should be biodegradable. Para single use, and then you can dispose of it in a reasonable way. Maybe have it, put in a compost and use the materials after use. So ito yung mga biomaterials that are biodegradable. So many of them would come from biomaterials and agricultural products.
Yeah.
And maybe if they can design, new types of plastics that are biodegradable, that might work. Tapos yung circular plastics, these are plastics that are really designed to be reused. Kasi well, we have to, like it or not, we have to keep using plastic. But the problem is that plastic that we're using now are not recyclable. Now this will require, quite a lot of R&D. And meron naman mga ibang mga bench scale successes na they're trying to design plastics are designed to be recyclable para kung pag-dispose pwedeng ibalik sa pabrika para gumawa ng bagong plastic. And of course, ang design niyan, hopefully it should, even the microplastics that come from there should be safe. Pati yung plasticizer. So medyo malaki yung challenge, but I think sana that we can be achieved. But again, it's a step-by-step process.
At yung sa nakaraang episodes din na patunayan na yung pangunahing na pinagmumulan ng microplastics ay sa fashion industry, fashion industry, sa pananamit, kasi meron na tayo yung synthetic fabric, kasi meron naman yung organic, yung natural, organic fabric, like halimbawa galing sa silkworms, di ba? Silkworms and others, na at syempre yung mga pinya, cotton, pero ngayon mas laganap na yung paggamit ng polyester, kasi ito rin yung tinatangkilik, kasi nga yung wash and wear na paggamit, di ba? Pati ako parang mas convenient para sa akin yung dry fit na pananamit, pero importanteng mapaglaanan kasi ito ng malalimang reflection, Doc Toby, kasi ito yung nakadadagdag doon sa napakarami ng naitatapon na pupunta lamang sa mga karagatan.
Siyempre, totoo yun. Ito mga quick fashion, lang, just for one season, pagkatapos itatapon na. Actually, yung sports, lahat ng sportswear na binibenta, lahat yan ay synthetic.
Synthetic na fabric.
Ngayon, yung meron mga natural fibers na pwedeng magawa. Ang challenge yun is how to make it in large volume at saka at a cheaper price. So, alam naman natin pinya maganda, pero mahal ang pinya. Silk is very nice. Actually, a lot of this, hopefully, you can probably make them through biotechnology. So, ayun, yun ang kailangan ng mga pag-aralan, how we can make natural fibers more cheaply. Ang cotton ay magandang material, pero malaki ang water demand ng cotton.
Okay.
So, yun ang downside.
Trade-off.
Trade-off. Of course, people mention bamboo, sources of bamboo, yung mga banana fiber. These are possible raw materials. Pero yun ang kailangan gawa ng research. Can we actually come up with fiber that is of good quality? Well, that's biodegradable. And can be obtained for a low price. But on the other hand, yung fashion industry, kailangan din mag-reforma ng konti. Kasi hindi naman pwede yung isang taon mo lang gagamitin, kasi tatapos sila. Kasi yun naman ang trend sa fashion, di ba? Ukay-ukay, puro reject yung mga pasuna na fashion sa ibang bansa. So, in a way, yun ang magiging response ng community, ng consumer. The consumer shouldn't be, ko dapat kasi merong extended producer responsibility, dapat meron din extended consumer responsibility.
Ayun.
Kumbaga, it's like, kung may binili ka, you're responsible for that. Hindi
Yeah,
yung,
yeah.
kasi ang attitude ng mga tao, binili ko, akin yan. Tatapon ko yan kung gusto ko na. Kung gusto mo nang itapon. But I think we should inculcate the notion. Parang ano ito yung tawag dito, yung, in a way, it's a story of creation. Parang it's something that you had the resources to, you bought it. It's yours, but you're responsible for it. So ownership does not mean absolute control. Ownership must also mean responsibility. If you buy something, you have to be responsible for it, use it properly, and dispose of it properly. So yun ang extended consumer responsibility. So I think there's a responsibility on both sides, from the producer and the consumer. I think that's something we should inculcate.
Yan. You mentioned about yung creation spirituality, Doc Toby, no? So ito pong programa ay it's based and inspired by the Laudato Si encyclical of Pope Francis, and I specifically remember one of my favorite lines in the encyclical is everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected. Even yung the way we consume, the way we use all of these resources, no, it does not mean na kapag pera ko naman ang aking ginamit, so I have full right over this one. Pero it will have an effect, kumbaga, no, upon other people, upon other creatures. No?
Yeah, I think that's really stewardship.
Yeah, stewardship. Yeah.
Yes.
Doc Abe?
Yung isang tanong na umabot sa akin ay how far will fragmentation of microplastic go and what is its end? There is a size which is called nanoplastic. Ibig sabihin, maliit na maliit ito. Yung microplastic ay 0.4 of a millimeter pababa. Then, masasabi natin microplastic. But the microplastic will continue with fragmentation kasi yung degradation ng plastic is neither chemical or natural. So, tuloy-tuloy yung fragmentation. Ang nakakatakot ay maging bahagi ng katawan natin sa tissues. And it's not limited to humans, pati yung animals. And then when the nanoplastic, which is embedded in the body of animals, go into the food chain and food web, ultimately, makukuha natin as the ultimate predator. So humans would be getting more and more of the nanoplastic from the food chain. Fortunately, wala pa naman definite na natuklasan nila to single out the effect of nanoplastic in the body. Even with mention of cancer, kidney trouble, and all of this, hindi pa specific yung effect. And it seems that we have not yet reached a certain dose that we can ultimately say, gawa ng accumulated nanoplastic sa katawan. Yan ang nakakatakot because while we are dismissing the potential dangers of microplastic without finding a definite solution, ma-accumulate, dadami ng dadami ang microplastic and nanoplastic in the body. Ngayon, when you see smog, hindi na lang fog and smoke, smog, hindi na kasama ng microplastic doon.
Yeah.
When there is an acid rain, hindi natin masabi acidic yan kasi galing sa sulfur dioxide as water or carbon monoxide. Ngayon, kasama na ngayon yung microplastic. that would carry these compounds with the rain, kasama mo, becomes a vehicle to these compounds, CFC compounds in the air. Bababa ngayon. Ngayon, ang movement ng ocean natin in the northern hemisphere counterclockwise. So meron yung centrifugal effect. Kaya meron tayong malaking accumulation sa, they call it Pacific Plastic Continent. So they even call it Plastic Continent kasi sa laki, sa lawak, ay mas malaki kasi ang malaking state ng US. They mentioned about Texas. Oh, I can imagine ang laki-laki nito. And it is growing. Now, on the other side, there you have another accumulation in the Atlantic. And then below the equator, where the current moves clockwise, meron na naman nag-accumulate na dalawang lugar. Now, it is not surprising na itong mga accumulated plastic materials manatili doon because of the example of the Sargasso Sea. Yung Sargasso Sea is made up of brown seaweeds, sargasso, and how big it is. Ngayon, instead na seaweeds, plastic. So this is a big problem to all of us. And we admit we cannot live anymore without plastic. And plastics are getting more and more complicated. We call this stronger, longer to last, multi-purpose. Yung cars ngayon, dati-dati, 80% metal. Ngayon, hindi. Yung external part niya. And many other parts of the vehicle are plastic. So, this is a big challenge to all of us. Ako, ang main concern ko doon is why is plastic being circulated in the food chain? And you see, we talk of lead and mercury kasama sa food chain. Ganun din mangyari sa nanoplastic. So this is something that we should try to look into. And we are very happy na pinag-usapan natin. And maybe the young generation would consider this as a major field of research and study and prepare them in their career. Dr. Dayrit, hindi ba yung it's really a challenge to the promising scientists, promising academicians, and many others in the younger generation.
Totoo yan. Napakalaki yung problema natin dyan. Actually, ang tingin ko, there are two main direction or things that we have to do research on. One is how do we develop new plastics or new materials that are safe for people, for the environment, biodegradable, etc. Yon. And then pangalawa, yung binanggit nyo, what do we do with the plastic waste that's already out in the environment? Yan ang dalawang napakalaking challenge. Ngayon, dun sa unang challenge, I think we have to pressure, kasi like it or not, we're dependent on big industry to make plastics on an industrial scale.
Yeah.
So, while the extended producer responsibility is a good move, if all countries adopt that and force industry to, follow the rules of extended producer responsibility, then we can force industry to clean up their acts, so to speak, or come up with better solutions. moving forward,
Yeah.
So that's one part. The other part is, can they produce new plastics? That's the other challenge. Ngayon yung pangalawa, sino naman ang gagawa, ang magbabayad dun sa pag-clean up ng ating kalikasan? So marami na ng plastic waste sa dagat, sa oceans, they've been mapping it. Who will pay for the cleanup? And I think that's probably have to be part of the recommendation of the United Nations. Anong gagawin sa lahat ng basura? And ang ginagawa nila ngayon, binibintangan nila ang Pilipinas at sa mga ibang bansa. Kasi number 1, number 3 tayo sa plastic waste released to the oceans. Diba? There were 2 major publications on that. So they're blaming the Philippines and other developing countries for the plastic materials which the industry produced in the first place. But anyway, the question now is, what do we do with the plastic waste that's out there? Anong gagawin natin dun sa isang malaking bundok ng basura sa Payatas? Ngayon, nandun lang siya. In fact, kung naiwan mo yung mga plastic doon, that will produce microplastic.
Yeah.
So, kasi it's exposed to the environment. So, from Payatas, yung runoff nun will have microplastic. That's for sure. So, how do you solve that? And who's gonna pay for it? Yun ang mga malaking tanong.
Yeah. Susundan ko lang, Doc Toby, kasi meron kang binanggit nga na apat, 4-pronged recommendations doon sa yung presentation. Nabanggit mo na yung it should be safe, both to humans and the environment, to all the creatures, not just to humans, So number 2, that it should be economically viable, economically viable. So ibig sabihin ay we can afford it, We can afford the use of these new plastics, kumbaga. Kasi nga mahirap naman, nasa developing country na tayo, tapos mahihirapan pa tayo doon sa paggamit ng mga panibagong mga plastics na to. So it should be economically viable. At pangatlo, nabanggit nyo po na it should be abundant, based on abundant raw materials. At yung pang-apat, dapat po ay ang plastic na pipiliin natin ay yung very, very functional lang. Pipiliin natin yung gamit talaga. It's not just based on wants, but it's based on needs. Yeah, 4-pronged,
Yeah. Well, yun ang ideal goal. Now, to actually achieve that, I think will require a lot of work. Yeah, unfortunately, may kahirapan yung gusto natin gawin.
Yeah.
But I think we don't have any choice. We have to start.
Yeah.
We have to start somewhere. And sa akin, I mentioned already, we're assigning responsibility to industry. Of course, they should, extended producer responsibility, come up with better materials. We have to assign some responsibility to the consumer, in stewardship for materials, and that, not to be such consumerist. Kasi yun ang problema parang really reduce your consumption. Ang government, I think, needs to be called out. Kasi the effect of plastic actually was it helps increase GDP. Kasi mas productive ang society. Kasi plastic is so convenient.
Yes.
So you can do something quickly. So tumataas ang GDP.
Yeah.
Ngayon, ang gobyerno, tinitingnan lang nila ang GDP. But what I'm advocating is, instead of just look at GDP, we should look at the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So the basis for a successful government should not be focused on GDP. It should be focused on the SDGs. And there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals: poverty, life underwater, life on land. We should grade the performance of the government based on the UN SDGs, not just on GDP. Ngayon, kung magmamalaki yung gobyerno, sabi, ang GDP natin was 7%, so we're successful. Ganun.
Yeah.
But sabihan na, mali yan. Dapat tumita natin yung SDGs. Did we actually clean up the environment? Did we have, sustainable production? Did we have sustainable communities? Not yung criteria ng SDGs, yun ang dapat tumitin, hindi na yung GDP. So yun ang dapat ang demand natin sa gobyerno. So each one has a role, government, industry, and society, the consumers. Hindi yan kakayanin ng isa lang. So if kung dikdikin natin na industry lang dapat gumawa ng bagong plastic, it's not good enough. Everyone has to work.
Yeah. Oo. So, mayroong mga steps, may mga moves, no, little steps na mga tumutugon, no, sa problema sa plastic nga, Dr. Toby, no. Pero kailangan talaga ng malawakan ng suporta ng gobyerno at malalim na pananaliksik, no, ng mga dalubhasa, no. So lalo na sa mga chemists, no, at mga iba pa. So yun, Doc Abe. Naka-mute po kayo, Doc Abe. Doc Toby. Yeah, sa Ateneo, I heard about the plan to ban the single-use plastic bottles already, plus bottled waters. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, I know the effect of that. The effect of that, it's going to hurt Ateneans.
Yeah, well, I think those are the small steps that we have to do. Kasi what we really want to inculcate is a way of life. And so, tignan mo, ano ba magagawa nito? It may be inconvenient, but something which people can get used to. And I think that's something people can get used to. So they realize, yung pala, then step by step, they get into the habit na ito dapat ang pamamaraan ng buhay.
And I really salute the Ateneo community, no, for coming up with drastic and it will really hurt the community, no, pero of course it will be met with a lot of resistance, no, that's a given fact, no. But just imagine now saving 2,000 plus water bottles, no, per day, no, once this will be implemented, no? Preventing 2,000 empty plastics, no, to be thrown into the landfill or wherever.
Yeah, I think we should identify those measures that we can adapt. So kasi plastic is a way of life. So if we can adjust the way of life, then adjust our relationship with plastic, I think we can make it. And then maybe people realize, kaya pala. So we don't stop with one measure. We go continuously find what other things can we do to adjust our way of life towards something that's more sustainable.
Yeah. So that is a move towards minimizing the use of single-use plastic, kumbaga, no? So that's a move towards that. And then
actually, pati yung mga estudyante, pati yung pagdadamit. Kasi mga maraming fashionista dyan.
Ayun.
So I think part of it is, dress simply, using environmental materials.
Yeah.
Huwag kang sunod sa fashion. Kung may bibili kang sapatos, make sure the shoes that you buy will last you for 4 years. Yung mga ganon.
Yeah. Yes, Doc Abe.
One solution is use plastic. Hindi yung dahil mura. So, bilhin mo na lang. And you choose yung durable, yung sinabi ni Dayrit, yung sapatos, it will last for years.
Actually, ang magandang gawin dyan, sabi sa mga estudyante, una niyo mga retrato ang inyong yung mga closet niyo na may sapatos. Magtatawanan yan siguro. 10 pala yung sapatos mo.
Yes.
pakontian kayo. Ako, kaya ko lang 3 sapatos lang.
Lifestyle check. Lifestyle check.
Lifestyle check. And then,
Oo.
yeah, identify key things that
Yes.
students can, parang sakyan nila na,
Oo. At para sa amin din ng mga Jesuit yan, Doc Toby. Lifestyle check.
I support the movement of
Yeah.
Ateneo. The
Yes.
movement of
Bold move.
avoiding as much as the use of plastic.
Yeah.
If you can help it, don't use plastic. At
Yeah.
pinupuri naman natin nag-initiate. Halimbawa, bawal na ngayon ang gumamit ng plastic straw doon sa soft drink.
Yeah.
Ngayon, in some parts, like in Quezon, imbes na plastic bayong, pandan, leaves of pandan bayong, maganda pang pandan. Bumabalik yung buri at substitute yan ng imbes na plastic ng mga headgears, no? And somebody said, let's do away with plastic by burning them. I said, no, because you are creating a worse consequence, because you will be, the burnt plastic will emit dioxin and many other toxic chemicals. Dioxin is the most poisonous man-made poison, gaseous form. So you cannot eliminate one problem by creating another problem. And this is a bigger problem because dioxin is really very, very poisonous. So payo natin, mga mahal natin na listeners, huwag po ninyong sunugin ang plastic. You cannot solve plastic pollution by burning plastic. So, ang advice ko dun sa lumapit sa akin, yung ipunin mo yon, and then meron kaming lugar dito sa San Vicente. By the way, Dr. Dayrit, I'm here in San Vicente, 2 kilometers west of Bigan, soon. So, yung LGU gumawa ng huge cage. You can easily throw the plastic bottles into the cage. Nung last na nakita ko, malapit nang mapuno. That's grabe pala ang paggamit ng plastic bottles, no? So there was one time na inisip ko, pag nakikita ninyo yung pinalat na plastic bottles, tandaan ninyo yung trademark. Do not patronize this product, because I still believe that it's the responsibility of industry, of the maker, to dispose waste and not pass on the byproduct to the consumers. And for all we know, the container is even more expensive than the content. You know, when you see a plastic bottle, mas mahal yung botelya, plastic bottle, kasi yung one time na inumin mo lang yung laman niya. So there has to be a regulation on this. Minimize use of plastic, and if it is possible, put it into an ordinance or maybe into a law. Di ba? Minimization of plastic use ang isa sa mga palliative measures natin.
Yan. Doc Toby, 2 episodes ago, we interviewed Ateneo Institute of Sustainability officer in charge, Abby Favis, no? And we ended up, no, with how we are ending also this episode now. No? It boils down to one's lifestyle. The problem of plastic, the plastic conundrum, is something that is connected, no, with our lifestyle. Our lifestyle. It's not the plastic per se na ang problema, kumbaga, Doc Toby, di ba? So ano po yung inyong maimumungkahi or maidadagdag dito?
Well, sa akin, it's actually more than lifestyle. Kasi when
Okay.
you say lifestyle, parang implication is mapapalitan mo yung lifestyle.
Mhm.
But it's actually part of way of life na eh.
Yeah.
Kasi lahat ng almost everything we do depends on some plastic.
Mhm.
Like we all need to ride, we need to ride vehicles.
Mhm.
Plastic yung gulong. Yung mga kotse ngayon, siguro 50% plastic na yan. Kasi it has to be light.
Yeah, yeah.
So, parang nandun siya eh. Of course, consumption is, you might say, is part of lifestyle. So certainly reducing our lifestyle, our need for high living, will reduce the amount of plastic that we're using. So tama naman, it's part of lifestyle, but it's also part of the whole 21st century. Kung walang plastic, wala tayong internet.
Yeah, yeah.
So ganun siya kailangan. So while we have to recognize that we depend on plastic, we have to recognize also there's types of plastic that we can do less of, do less with pala. And tulad sinabi niyo yan, it's a huge problem that involves us. Let's tackle it step by step. Yung doable.
Yeah.
And there are doable things in terms of consumption. There may be doable things in terms of yung legislation, yung extended producer responsibility. Right now, it's only against single-use plastic packaging. Dapat, lang yun. Ngayon na yun. In several years from now, we should review that and say, where else can we, ramp up the extended producer responsibility? Baka mamaya, napakulong tayo sa single-use plastic packaging. Parang, we just satisfy that and then, kasi yun ang nakikita na marami. But I think there should really be a long-term, process that we look at all the plastic that we use and see which ones we can replace, reduce, and then, slowly, hopefully, we can come up with better, more, environmentally friendly plastic materials. So that's the hope. But again, we shouldn't, although we're concerned with pollution, hindi dapat yun lang ang titignan natin. It's a parameter, parang it's a, something that we look out for, but we shouldn't end with pollution. We should actually start at the beginning. Ano bang plastic ang ginagamit natin?
Yeah, proactive kumbaga, no? It's a very proactive way of looking at the plastic conundrum na let's go back to how it starts, no? And then so that we will have full control also to how plastic will end in the environment, kumbaga.
Tama.
Yeah. And yes, we salute you, Dr. Toby, in terms of these spaces of discussion that you are providing, especially in the Ateneo, no? And it's not only for the Ateneo community, but for the nation, no? So your role as president of the Integrated Chemists of the Philippines, no? So yun, no? So we pray for you, Dr. Toby, no? As you continue to influence, no? Influence more and more institutions, individuals. Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you for your prayers and support.
Yeah.
I think we all need this. We all need support and grace from God to continue.
Yeah. Nakaka-dismaya lang kung minsan, Doc Toby, no? Pero I think St. Ignatius would say, no, don't fall into despair. Never to despair. Well, there may be failures, yes. Welcome the failures, but never the despair. No, in terms of this, it's going to be like a long haul.
Tama yan.
Kaya we need each other po.
And the aspect of reverence for life is very important here because the real attitude of people towards one another and to the Creator ay mahalaga. Before you destroy the earth, before you cause the sickness or ailment of somebody else, dapat maramdaman mo. So when you use plastic, think of how many
Yeah.
will suffer from the plastic that you throw away. And by being conscious of that, then magkakaroon ka rin ng some kind of reformation. Kahit unti-unti lang, collectively, we can contribute something towards this problem. It's a worsening problem and it is worldwide. May panahon pa tayo to go back and tell to ourselves, plastic is not indispensable. We can live without plastic. That we must remember. We can live even better, healthier with less plastic na ginagamit natin kasalukuyan.
Yeah, less plastic and bioplastics. No, bioplastics. Okay, so it's time. So maraming salamat po Doc Toby sa inyong napaka magandang ay parang very precious time that you have contributed to our program and to all our listeners. So salamat, maraming salamat.
Salamat sa imbitasyon. Saka mabuti na ito yung tinatalakay natin dahil kailangan natin pag-usapan talaga itong problema.
Yeah, at hindi nagtatapos dito, no? More talks like this, no? So hopefully sa ulitin Doc Toby, no? And
Sige,
sige po. Okay, so maraming salamat sa ating mga listeners. Salamat kay Justin at kay Teo ng Radyo Katipunan.
At salamat din sa tumutulong sa akin dito, si Marlo at saka si Cecil. And of course, Brother Teo and Brother Justin. Thank you very much. And of course, our
listeners,
beloved guest, Dr. Dayrit. Thank you very much po.
Sige, maraming salamat din.
Okay. Magtaka, magmasid, mag-isip, may utak ang kalikasan. Katipunang tahanan, Tatakalikasan, Radyo, Tatak.
Lamig, init, ulan, hangin, kumakalingang kalikasan. Ating alagaan at ingatan. Kumusta na ang ating kalikasan? Pag-usapan natin ang kalagayan ng mundo at kung paano tayo makatutulong sa pagkalinga sa ating tahanan. Kasama sina Father J.M. Manzano ng Kapisanan ni Jesus at si Dr. Abel Rotor. Ito ang Tatakalikasan sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.